It's time for episode number 70 of Get Real with Rajiv. And in this episode, I'm going to be answering questions around how do you increase the effectiveness of cold calling. I'm also going to be talking about how do I stay so consistent on social media even though I run multiple businesses. We're also going to talk about how do you expect a result from social media when you're targeting the right customer with the right content. And finally, I'm also going to discuss if you have a business that has a long credit cycle, how do you deal with that situation? So if you'd like answers to this question, then tune into episode number 70 of Get Real with Rajiv. Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 70 of Get Real with Rajiv. And like every single week, I'm going to be answering 4 questions, and today Pawan is going to be the voice of your questions. So Pawan, what's the first question?
We have Akshay Aswani asking how to increase the success rate of cold calling.
Well, Akshay, let me tell you firstly how one should view cold calling. A lot of businesses make the mistake where they expect the sale to happen through a cold call. And this is where you as a customer would have also received cold calls from people who would have called you and said, hello sir, my name is so and so, I'm calling from so and so company, we do website development services, do you have any requirement? Now think about it, even if you have a requirement, the chances of you saying a yes is very, very minimal. In fact, the natural response is no. So firstly, you need to understand the objective of cold calling. The objective of cold calling is not to sell. The objective of cold calling is to build a relationship and get an appointment or get a meeting. Now, most people say, yes, that's our objective, but the script that they have is flawed. Because when you have a script where the telecaller is asking a question like, do you have any requirement? Then you are making a sale. You're not looking at exploring a relationship. You're not looking at exploring the requirement yet. So firstly, I would say you need to align your script to the objective, which is to generate appointments. Now, the second part is you need to be prepared that in the game of cold calling, rejection is the name of the game, which means most people are going to say a no. Most people are going to avoid. Now, if you go into the battle knowing that most people are going to say no, then the no does not hurt you enough. The problem is that most people, when they are doing cold calling, they want a yes from every call that they are making. And every time they hear a no, it affects their energy, it affects their morale, it affects their motivation, and then it affects their action. So they don't take consistent action on cold calling. Every rejection, the guy telecaller goes for a 20-minute spoke break because he's kind of processing the rejection because it's hit him. But if you prepare your cold calling team, or if you yourself are doing cold calling, you need to be prepared for rejections. You need to know the rule is every prospect will not give you an appointment, every prospect will not give you a meeting. And the more rejections you get, the more your chances are to get yeses for appointment or acceptances for appointments. So this is a game where the more you fail, the more you succeed. Cold calling is that game where the person with the highest rejections also lands up with the highest number of meetings. So it's an action game. So the best way of increasing your success rate in cold calling is to firstly manage the mind and the expectations of the mind. And the other aspect is from a script and a communication point of view to be prepared that the person on the other side will come to avoid you. They will give you reasons like, no, we don't have a requirement, we're already happy with our vendor, the decision maker is not at the desk. You need to be prepared for all of this and yet persist without pressure. That's a skill, my friend, and you need to develop that skill by firstly getting the mindset aligned to the objective of cold calling. I hope that makes sense to you. With that, let's move to the second question for the week.
We have Nikhil Jain asking, I have a credit-based business. The amount of credit is so much that the cash rotation doesn't happen on time. And if I opt for lesser credit, then the profit margins are very, very less. How to handle this situation?
Well, two things, Nikhil. I often say this to entrepreneurs who have a credit-based business where the payment cycle is very, very long or slow. I always say this, that in your case, you're not really a product or service business, you're actually a finance business. The more you can finance that opportunity, the more holding power you have, the more money you can make out of that opportunity. You're a specialized finance business. You're financing a particular product or service and you're waiting for the cycle to complete and for you to make money. Now, in a scenario like that, Nikhil, firstly, you need to understand that the only way for you to beat the cash crunch is to make sure that either you are infusing more working capital, which I know if it was possible, you would have already done it. You wouldn't have asked me this question. Or the second option is to start trading or offering an easy to buy product or service, something which is a low value product or service which gives you a high volume of sale. Now, when it's an easy to buy product or service which is low in value, then the rotation of cash is much faster and the volumes are large enough. So with whatever you're already offering, Nikhil, my recommendation would be to add another dimension of product or service which is easy to buy, so you have higher volumes, you have faster and healthier cash flow cycles, so that you can sustain your existing primary business as well. Having said that, the other angle about how do you handle a long credit cycle, and you mentioned that if you reduce the credit cycle, your profit margins get affected. You also need to evaluate what is the cost of capital, because sometimes when you're trading in a product or service which has a long credit cycle, you are borrowing money from outside and you're servicing that money with an interest. Now, is the profit margins aggressive enough or healthy enough for you to even bear the cost of this interest? Or is it better to not provide such a long credit cycle and in fact reduce the margins a little bit and overall have a healthier margin? So you need to do some mathematics, Nikhil, to figure it out as to what's the best option for you. Number one, infuse working capital. Number two, reduce the credit cycle and compensate for the interest that you are borrowing, that you are spending money on with the lower profit margin. Or number three, explore a new product or new service which is an easy to buy. These are your three solutions. With that, let's move to the third question for the week.
We have Crownson asking, how are you so active on social media and how do you manage your time in spite of running multiple businesses?
Well, Brownson, the key to consistency, and this is not just about social media, it's about any activity in business. The key to consistency is in building teams and systems. What works for me is the fact that I have been able to build a team and a system in every single department of every single business of mine. Now, when you have a team and a system in every single department in every single business of yours, then your dependency in day-to-day operations of every single department is very, very low. And that's what works best for me. Now, because on a day-to-day basis, my involvement is very low, I am able to do things that I'm best at. I'm able to do things that are important for me from a business owner point of view. So my number one priority where I spend most of my time is in management meetings, is in creation meetings, is in review meetings. Because as a business owner, that's your number one responsibility, to create, to ideate, and then to review what is happening and what is not happening and give people direction. So I spend most of my time there. The second area where I spend a lot of my time is in training. I love training. That's what I'm good at. That's where my strength lies. That's what my business depends on me for. So training is something that I do a lot more. And then the third aspect is social media. Now, if you notice all my platforms, be it YouTube, be it Facebook, be it LinkedIn or Instagram, there's a lot of content that we put out there. But in reality, the amount of time I personally spend on those content is not more than 8 to 10 hours in a month. And giving those 8 to 10 hours in a month, which is doing what I'm essentially doing right now, recording videos like this, is good enough for my team to repurpose the content, create posters out of it, write blog articles out of it, draw out audio clippings and create podcasts out of it. So it's all about having a team and a system. And the biggest mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is that they expect themselves to be consistent in doing everything. I always say this to entrepreneurs: if you're doing everything in your business, you are accomplishing nothing. And the key to accomplishing anything is consistency. So you got to make sure that you have a team and a system which is ensuring there is consistent activity in every department of your business. Only then you can expect a desired result out of it. So Crownson, my secret of consistency is my team and my systems. These are the two things that I've put in place, and I just pitch in wherever I have to. I hope that makes sense. With that, let's go to the fourth and final question for this week. So Pawan, what's the fourth question?
We have Jatin asking, if we are targeting the right audience for our business organically and not getting any results out of it, then how do we handle it?
Well, Jatin, if you are targeting the right audience organically on social media or any other platform, then I want you to firstly understand or ask yourself, what's your objective? Is your objective of putting out content or whatever you're doing in terms of a marketing activity towards the audience, is your objective to increase engagement? Is your objective to generate inquiries? Or is your objective for people to make a purchase or for you to sell? Because based on your product or service, you need to be clear what is the natural next step for your prospect when you're engaging with them organically. Most people, while their natural next step is engagement and building a conversation, they actually expect a sale to happen through putting out content on social media organically. It will not happen. So you need to be more focused on what's the natural next step from the point of view of your customer. Once they see your content, would they like to have a conversation with you? If they would like to have a conversation with you, then are you putting a call to action for people to have a conversation with you? Are you putting out some medium where they can connect with you to continue the conversation with you after they consume your content? Or are you putting a call to action for people to inquire so that you generate a lead? Or are you putting a call to action for people to make a purchase by putting a link for them to buy something that you're offering? So based on the natural next step of what your customer would prefer, you need to choose, is it engagement, is it inquiry, or is it a sale? And based on that, you need to have specific call to actions. Now, the other part of your question was how you mentioned you do this organically. Now, let me tell you, in the game of social media or in the game of marketing, there are 3 stages one has to go through as a business. The first stage is consistency. Which means what? Whatever content you're putting, are you putting it consistently enough? Like I have people who consume my content, they understand making videos is a powerful medium, and they go out there, they do 5 videos and they come back and say, Rajiv, I did 5 videos, but I did not get a result. And let me tell you, here's what you get after you do 5 videos. You get nothing. For the amount of content that there is on social media, your 5 videos, though it may be a significant effort for you, for the audience, 5 videos is nothing. So first stage for anybody who's doing marketing is to be consistent, okay, to make sure that you are generating a good amount of content consistently. After you've hit a patch of consistency, then comes the second stage, which is enhancing the quality. This is where you start getting feedback. You start analyzing each post, each piece of content, and you create feedback for yourself from the point of view of quality of the video, quality of the caption, quality of the infographic, quality of your branding, the look, feel, design, the editing. So once you've become consistent, then you need to start becoming anal about quality, and you need to keep enhancing quality because people want to consume qualitative information. Both from a look and feel and from a substance point of view. So when I'm talking quality, I'm saying the brand look and feel as well as the content, the substance of the content, the depth of the content. And then comes the third stage. Once you've got the quality right, then comes the third stage, which is the stage of reach. Now this is where you got to start boosting your value content, not just your sales post or your promotional content, but even it's useful to boost your value content today because more people get visibility to the quality of the content and they make a decision whether they want to continue the conversation with you and they want to engage with you or not. So Jatin, that's like a crash course in social media simplified for you in like what, 3 minutes. I hope you are able to derive some points of improvement for yourself and more than anything have the right perspective while you're taking action on social media or any other platform of marketing because it's a game of consistency to begin with. So with that, we come to the end of episode number 70 of Get Real with Rajiv. I hope a lot of you found value in the answers, and if you did, I'm going to ask you to do what I ask you to do with every single episode. Number 1, make sure you share this video on whatever timeline you're consuming this content on so that more people can get visibility. Number 2, if this is your first Get Real with Rajiv episode that you're watching, I've done 70 such episodes, so go on my YouTube channel, subscribe and watch all the episodes. It's a whole bank of knowledge out there that we've put out over the last 70 weeks. And number 3, if you have a question, put it in a comment below and we will answer it in any of the upcoming episodes of Get Real with Rajiv. With that, this is me, Rajiv Talija, signing off. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.